So today we're going to blanch some tomatoes. We're doing tomatoes, but this works for any fruit. A few purposes for blanching. First of all, it destroys the enzymes that cause fruit to rot. So that slows down that process, as well as it kind of sterilizes the outside of the fruit, which is where a lot of your spoilage bacteria would come from. And since most of us don't like skins in our processed fruits, it makes it easy to remove those. So it's a fairly simple process. Basically, you need your fruit. In this case, it's going to be tomatoes and a pot of boiling water. So we're going to take, I preheated this pot of water. So it should come up to boiling pretty quickly. So as soon as that's boiling, you want a nice rolling boil. So once you have a rolling boil, then all you're going to do is just you don't want to do too many fruits at one time because you don't want the water to cool down. But you're just going to take and start adding the fruit to the water. The amount of time that you'll blanch stuff depends on a lot of things: your altitude, how big your fruit is, how big your pot is. Good thing about it, like I've noticed, that if you don't do it long enough, you can just redo it. Okay, so that's about what I like to do. You don't want to fill the pot all the way. You can see it's still boiling somewhat. Then generally I like to start with about a minute. You can see that some of the skin has already started to crack, especially tomatoes. Tomatoes are reasonably fragile fruit. Just stir them around a little bit so that all sides get blanched. So now I can see a couple of few of the tomatoes are the skin's starting to crack. So that means we're probably pretty close. Depending on how you're going to process the fruit, overcooking it can be a problem or not at all. If you're going to can it, then it's not a big deal. I like about a minute, maybe a minute and a half is usually what I go for. And then it's going to vary because I didn't keep track of which fruit I put in what. So then the next thing we're going to do is just pull the fruit out and put it into a pot of cold water. And I actually like to run a little bit of cold water just so that it stays cold, because I am adding warm fruit to it. And so the purpose is just to cool this down as quickly as possible, because the goal is not to cook things. The goal is just to heat them up so you can remove the skin and deactivate the enzymes. Once all of our tomatoes are out of the pot of boiling water, we'll just add the rest of our tomatoes. And we've got a nice rolling boil. That's the other thing you can kind of do, is as you add cold stuff to it, a lot of times it'll stop boiling, and then when it starts boiling again, then you know it's pretty good. So now we've got a nice cracked skin. So we'll turn off the heat and just transfer the rest of the tomatoes to the cold water. The next thing we would do is just pull off the skins. I'll show that in my next video.